Hello, everyone. Welcome to a little bit of a different live tonight. Not a post game. Let's call it more of a weekend wrap here today. Tyler, Andrew, and Greer holding it down for you. It's been a pretty packed day of games. I think it was like what? Greer was like 18 top 25 teams.
18 of the top 25 played today. Yes.
Yeah. So several of those being ranked matchups against fellow ranked opponents. We're gonna dive into those, but I want to start off with the top of the show with what was probably arguably the biggest news out of today, and that was the injuries sustained. Most notably, Paige Bueckers, and what happened with her. We have the play to kind of show what went down here. Interesting, but apparently she said that's a flagrant foul on the way down. I'm like, Paige, be hurt. It's okay. Let's just allow this to happen because it is happening. But it sounds like good news based on what we heard from the post game with Gino, which I also have that. So let's hear from Gino.
But I have to ask you about Paige. Can you provide us with any update on what happened and how she's feeling?
No, she's pretty good. I mean, it was unfortunate. The kid dove for the ball, and I mean, I'm sure people saw it. Paige turned her back, and it was a weird situation. And it's funny because we had somebody at the scores table ready to check in, So, but she'll be fine. She looks good, but I'm optimistic. Let's put it that way. I feel good.
Good to hear.
Great to hear. He was also asked about it in the post-game press conference, which I have that clip as well. I'm locked and loaded today with all the clips.
Coach, just any update on Paige, what happened with her and where's she kind of
at? She just has some ice on it right now, and it's like when I said about AZ, these freaky things that happen when somebody runs into you, and so like when it was with AZ, it's not the worst thing that we can imagine. So that's great news, considering how awkward it was,
Okay, well, to start with Paige, Greer, I'm sure that your heart dropped a little bit, a lot of it maybe, even when that happened. Throughout the game, she returned to the bench, correct? And had ice on it. Hearing like AZ when it comes to injuries, I'm like, oh no, let's not be.
That.
But I understand. I know what he's getting at, but I don't. Let's
he
not
probably
do
want that comparison back. But I think what alarmed me about it was that when she came back to the bench, it obviously looked like she'd been crying in the back. Mm-hmm. Janelle Francisco, their head athletic trainer, put ice on the knee. Then the next shot you get of her, there's ice on the ankle and foot area. Shoe is off. It's just, and still a lot of emotion on the bench, but she seemed to kind of snap out of it about halfway through the fourth quarter. Yeah. It happened, I think, with about 1:17 left in the third quarter. And also, in years past, an injury like this happens and you feel it ripples through the entire team. And I felt like we just kept our foot on the gas today.
Yeah, KK hooped.
Yeah. And so that was really cool to see. Basically throughout Paige's entire tenure with the Connecticut Huskies, anytime an injury happens, it just reverberates around the team and drags down all of the momentum, you know what I mean? And energy, and that didn't happen today. So I have no other option but to take his word for it, and that it's maybe she's just kind of overreacting because of the past, you know what I mean? And once that adrenaline wears off and you're not thinking the worst possible things it's okay, if you miss 2, 3, 4 games, not the end of the world. And we certainly have enough firepower with AZ back, with Sarah playing the way that she is, that in Big East play, at least, we should be just fine.
Right. Yeah, and that's what's kind of interesting to me about when it comes to losing a player like Paige, because to your point, I don't think that there's any doubt. It's not like UConn's going to go into, if it's not with Paige, they're going to go into any of these games not as the favorite. Nothing like that by any means. But there isn't much room for error right now, as we had already talked about due to the non-conference results. So, like, if you do lose Paige for a 3 to 4 game period, maybe, you know, for 2 weeks to a month, like, you have to. There is no room for slip-ups in that way, which I think makes it a bit more of an intriguing situation from that perspective for UConn as a team and their resume building with the Big East, because you can't slip up. Like,
Yeah, I think the thing that is scary is just there's history here, right? And if this was just a one-off situation, I think you're thinking, okay, like freak play, whatever, we ball, right?
Mm-hmm.
But because of all of the context historically that we have around Paige with her injury history, like every time this happens, it's a hold your breath, right? And I do think that there is something to be said. And if there is kind of one iffy-ish knock that I don't know if Paige can control when it comes to playing at the next level, is that like her frame is light, right? Like that's not to say that she can't put a little more on her frame when she gets to the W, but like I think the thing that always worries me from an injury perspective with her is like she's a light kid, you know? And if you look at your top draft pick guards, especially of the last couple of years, and someone like Juju, Caitlin Clark, kind of the same way. Like Caitlin is bigger than people think she is. Like she is not brittle or like kind of dainty in that way. Like dainty is not the right word, but like Paige, I think can fill out in her frame more. But every time she takes contact, every time these types of funny falls happen, you end up in this place of like, oh crap, like is this about to be the season again? And I think that is like the one thing where if I am a GM, you know, in this case, Kurt Miller of the Wings, like I am watching that a little bit being like, oh God, like is this worth freaking out over now when it's an injury that kind of happens? And the other thing too, and you can't discount the mental side of this, you know, with players that have to deal with injuries in the way that they have, right? Like just an anecdote here. I remember when Niara Sabali was coming off not one but 2 knee surgeries, and she opened up for Oregon. This was like 2021 or 2022. I'm sitting on press row. She comes down funny on her knee on like a routine jumper, and like you would have thought that she blew it a third time the way she reacted. And it wasn't out of like any histrionics or dramatics. It was because when you've had those injuries for so long, like that stuff lingers in your head mentally. And I do think that on some level, you know, that this is very possible with Paige, like where, you know, you see tears or you see worry and concern because it's happened to you so many times that when even a small thing like this happens, like your brain immediately goes to, oh my God, this just happened to me again. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to see and glad to hear that nothing has happened, you know, where it's been worse. I feel like Gino is pretty forthcoming with the press where like, if something bad happens, like he'll let you know. There's not really any sense of gamesmanship with him at this point, at this point in his career. Like, I don't think there ever has been, but like, I think at this point, he truly doesn't really give a fuck, which I love about Gino. He's my guy for that. But I'm really glad that, you know, from that end, you know, Paige will remain healthy. And frankly, no disrespect to the Big East, if your goal is championship in March and April, I would take it easy with her. And I know that's not her way. I know that's not Gino's way, but I do wonder if this is the kind of thing where it's like, you know what, if we were playing her 35 or 37 minutes a game, now we bring her down to 30 and let, you know, Ducharme or Chelly or one of the other young guards step up and earn their keep, because you're going to have to anyway at some point.
Well, Ducharme's not playing at all, to be clear.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
Right. Ducharme's not playing. But, yeah, I mean, we know what we're getting with her, right? Like, I think that was bound to happen anyway, what you're talking about, Andrew, like in terms of like working through. Well, actually, I felt like today he was kind of going to shorten rotations a little bit.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, but then, you know, that happens. But Morgan Shelley was off the bench like pretty early in the game today. Still trying to work through like the big rotation with Ice and Jana. But yeah, like the Big East, this is a down year for the Big East too.
It is.
So we do, yeah, we do have that kind of luxury of like, you know, having 10 to 11 players who can play. Aubrey Griffin is coming back. That's like imminent at this point as well. So yeah, I think we should be conservative about it if we need to be.
Yeah, I'm with you. The other injury that happened today, I don't have there's really not as much context, frankly, for this injury, but Ashton Watkins goes down with what kind of feels like a bit more severe injury, potentially. Don Staley was asked about it in the post-game press conference, didn't have any update, didn't go like to the hospital or anything. It seemed to be a knee, was just treated within the arena. But when it comes to teams that obviously South Carolina, kind of in a similar way, they have talent, but it's kind of the question of who's going to be the one to step up if Ashton Watkins is out for an extended period of time. Obviously, the conversation, especially early on in this season with South Carolina, was the post play already. They bring Ashton Watkins back into the fold, and that kind of was getting solved. And alongside Chloe Kitts and Joyce Edwards, if Watkins is out for an extended period of time, which again we don't know that or anything, there hasn't been any kind of further context besides that she got hurt, she didn't play again in this game, and it didn't really seem like she could put much weight on it when she did get hurt. So as of now, it's very much up in the air. There's no type of timetable or anything, so I want to be clear on that. But if this is an extended time period where South Carolina is without Ashton Watkins, and as you're going into SEC play where there's plenty of size to go around, I think we kind of work our way back into some of those similar questions to how do they get it done in the paint. And so I'm interested from your guys' perspective, what does that look like now for South Carolina under the assumption, and this is an assumption, that Watkins could be out for a decent amount of time?
Look, there's no two ways about it. I mean, it's a season-altering injury if it is as bad as it is, kind of believed. Like the worst-case scenario of this fundamentally alters the course of the season for South Carolina in multiple ways. I mean, the one weird thing is that I kind of expected a little bit more out of Miriam Dauda, the transfer this year, just in terms of what her readiness would be. I know Don Staley's system is a little different in South Carolina, but this is a player with a lot of SEC bona fides, and I've kind of been surprised to see how low in the road. She's like 13 or 14 out of the 15-person rotation that they have, right? And so that's a player that I think you're going to have to rely upon. You're going to have to rely on heavy doses of Joyce Edwards, which, to be quite honest, I think she can do that, right?
Yeah, agreed.
Seen it in limited spurts, and I know there's been a lot of dialogue about Mylasia Fulwiley and Don Staley and how these rotations work, and like, do you let your stars eat and all that stuff. I'm going to write about that in 5 Out tomorrow, which you'll find on nocapspacewbp.com. But I think this is one of those things where you're going to see why that depth and why kind of ingraining people in that system matters, like why plug and play matters here, because you're going to need Joyce Edwards in a huge way. Chloe Kitts is great. Chloe Kitts is great on the offensive end. She is not the versatile defender that Ashton Watkins is. I mean, absent Camila Cardoso, absent Aaliyah Boston, Ashton Watkins was your eraser in the paint defensively.
Yeah.
And if you do not have that, you become a much different team. Especially, man, if we start talking about the teams up toward the top of the top 25 here, right? Like if you start talking about a Notre Dame who's got 6'3", 6'4", 6'4", and Kate Koval and Maddie Westbeld's back, and Cassandra Prosper, UCLA, who's got Lauren Betts, and they're basically built like last year's South Carolina team, down to the 6'7" centerpiece, the fours that can run all over the place, and the guards that can shoot you into games. Like there's a lot more versatility that you get with Ashton Watkins healthy, and it's terrifying, the prospect of what happens when she's not there. If anybody can figure it out, Don Staley can, but I do think it takes your ceiling down from national title contender to Final Four contender. I know that's like, oh, boo-hoo, like they're in the they're about contender now.
Poor South Carolina fans. yeah.
But the thing about it though is that when your expectation year in and year out, and the way you build your team year in and year out is title expectations, it's a big deal when you lose a piece that basically takes that away.
Yeah.
At least in my opinion, I think Ashton Watkins is that level of good and is that level of valuable. And I'm here for good ball. I'm here for good ball in March. I'm here for good ball in April. So my hope, despite whatever people think about what happened at the start of this year, this is still a kid. This is still someone who's working through the youth of life, and injuries suck, and you don't want to see somebody get injured in this way. And so I hope it's not anything too bad. I would love to see Ashton Watkins play deep into March and April, because I want the best ball from the best teams, and South Carolina is at their best when she's healthy.
Yeah. Greer, anything to add on to that when it comes to what they're looking like?
I mean, Adele Tack's definitely been getting more minutes recently. Mm-hmm. So like this, like turbocharges her like learning, right?
Yeah.
The Dada piece is like fascinating, truly, because to Andrew's point, she was a massive factor in the SEC last year. Mm-hmm. Maybe even was it all SEC. You know what I'm saying? So like definitely a head scratcher in terms of like what's happening with her and why it feels like she's not like hitting the ground running with South Carolina, right? But this is also another opportunity for experienced players like a Sanaya Fagan, like a Sakima Walker, to show why they're upperclassmen who get minutes. So Ashlyn is like, I mean, no one defends the paint like Ashlyn. No one rim protects like Ashlyn. No one makes you afraid to go and also no one can like close space like Ashlyn.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's gonna have to be like an all hands on deck kind of thing if she is out. But like Andrew said, like, we want to beat teams at full strength. So I know every other team is like hoping that she gets back. Fans hoping that she gets back and hoping it's nothing serious, and that today we could just throw it away and
right. Yeah, for both. Yeah, I do think it's just interesting from past years, right? So like even if you go back to last year, Camilla's out for a couple of games with for playing with Brazil, right? And Watkins is able to you kind of have like that 1-to-1, like, okay, now it's you. There's not really like that mainly on the defensive end to the point that y'all both made when it comes to just being able to fit someone in and replace. There's not that on the defensive side of the ball really for South Carolina right now. So I do think, to your point, Greer, like it's not only on the bigs to try and make up some of the Ashton Watkins could just erase a lot of mistakes on the defensive end. So I think it also is increased pressure just on the perimeter defense that for South Carolina to limit those mistakes to be fixed on the back line of the defense. And obviously South Carolina is no, it's not like South Carolina is a bad defense. So I don't, but I think having a mistake fixer, which they've had for a decade now, is a big part of why they are a good defense. So that'll be interesting to see on that point. That's enough talking about injuries though. Let's have some more fun. And you know what?
Let's talk about the good stuff, man.
You know what the great stuff is? Our friends at Homefield, where you can use code NOCAP15 to get 15% off your first purchase at the link in the description below. You can also find NoCapSpaceWBB.com, where we just had an interview with Keely Parks, a 5-star commit from Kansas. Homefield hooked me up with that. We got Keely a whole care package. It was super dope, so go check that out. And also, as Andrew said, 5 Out, the best weekly column in all of women's basketball, will be dropping tomorrow as well on NoCapSpaceWBB.com. It's free to subscribe. Get email notifications whenever content drops. But let's talk about one of those ranked matchups I mentioned at the top of the show. Notre Dame and North Carolina. Hannah Hidalgo and Olivia Miles. It's so funny to think about when we were like, will this work? Question mark? Yeah.
Yeah.
It does. I know we're certainly going to talk about Olivia's performance, so I do want to start off with Hannah's real quick. 24 points, 3 steals, 5 assists, 3 rebounds. Also, Leah Tu King, 15 rebounds tonight. I am such a fan of her game. Like I'm all in on King as
honestly crazy portal pickup. Crazy.
Insane. I think probably the best portal pickup ? In the nation. I think there's.
I would say like underrated. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think like maybe like I'm thinking like bang for your buck type of like for the value of like expectation for results, like probably the best one. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's a couple players like Kiki that also transfers, right. But it's like there's certainly
but like that this girl and just like to your point, mm-hmm. like this girl came off a Pitt team that nobody knew a damn thing about. Like, it was horrible last year.
Mm-hmm.
And it could have been very easy for her to fall into the trope of really good player putting up gaudy numbers on a bad team who goes to a good team and might not be as good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, we're seeing that at Mississippi State, right? Taryn Ward was at Georgia Southern last year, who was one of the leading scorers in all of Division I and can't get off the bench at Mississippi State right now. But Leah King, I mean, she proved that she's as good as she was at Pitt. It just was the rest of the team. It's like that video of the little kid doing youth football who's like, guys, like, this is not your fault. This is not our fault.
Yeah.
She's the walking embodiment of that, because she is somebody who has come onto this Notre Dame team. And like you said, man, she's going to make an impact at the next level. I know you're huge on her as like a W prospect. I see the vision.
Yes. I'm telling you, second round pick to the Dallas Wings. You have your 4. That is the agenda that I am rolling with. But yeah, I mean, also a big part of this game didn't have a huge impact in it, but the fact that Notre Dame gets Maddie Westbell back is just massive. I mean, just as they continue to kind of add kind of player by player back into this rotation, it was at 6, now it's at 7, now it's at 8 with Maddie Westbell returning today. Again, like, this team is like, when they've played at their best, look like they can beat. I mean, they've shown that they can beat any team in the nation. Now, obviously, they've had some down games as well, which is the worry I feel like with Notre Dame right now, is if you play down to any competition. But in recent weeks, really since the 2 losses that they had over Thanksgiving break, every game since then has been a proven, like, we are one of the best teams in the country ever since that loss. So I don't know if that was just just one of those weeks, if it was the flow hoops curse, I don't know. But ever since then, it's looked really, really well for Notre Dame. But Olivia Miles, y'all, goodness gracious. When we talked to Olivia Miles and we had our preseason interview, we asked her and was like, hey, like, what is the thing in your game where it's like, I'm coming back from injury. I'm ready to improve here. It's what I've been working on. And she said 3-point shooting. And I said, okay, yeah, makes sense, right? I didn't know she was going to be doing it like this. It's one thing to improve your 3-point shooting. This is a crazy stat. Entering today, she's shooting 45.9%, which is 23% better than any of her previous seasons. She's never shot above 30% from 3. And now you're seeing her have a career day like this, where she's making 5 threes in a game, a career high, in all different ways as well. Like, we've seen her like spot up. We've seen her like just off the dribble. We've seen her like creating space on her own to get the shots up against good defenders too. Like, Lexi Donarski for UNC is a former Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year at Iowa State. This is no slouch that was guarding her today, and she still just kept bombing those threes. So I'm interested, Greer, for you. What are you seeing from Olivia Miles this season? I think the 3-point shooting is the most kind of blatant thing, but is whether it be the 3-point shooting or something else, like, what have you seen from Olivia this season that has impressed you?
I think it's really just like the freedom that playing with a player like Hannah allows for her. Like, yeah, I think that and I mean, really, it's a 3-headed monster from the guard position, right?
Yeah.
So I just think like they all read each other so well. And another thing that Olivia said when we had her earlier in the season or before the season started was that, right, Niele Ivey and the coaching staff really like let her come into like understanding the game, right? And I think that is showing in her play this season. Nothing is like sped up. She's getting what she wants when she wants it, knows when to defer, knows when to take over. And yeah, she's just demonstrating in a real way how prepared she is for the next level.
Yeah. Speaking of the next level, Andrew, how are you feeling about Olivia Miles here?
All right, folks, get in here, because this is going to be a hot take. I'm going to get obliterated in the comments for this, but I'm willing to stand on business right now.
Put you full screen.
What is the downside of Olivia Miles at number 1? Because today, all right, so a few things happened today where I started to like think about this and would be like, would it be coaching malpractice if Curt Miller didn't take a long, hard look here? First off, Hannah Hidalgo's game, I see a lot of Enrique in that game.
Interesting.
Like I see a degree of ball dominance. I see a degree of reckless abandon, like always green light, active on defense. Like she does a lot of the things that Arike does, just at a smaller 5'6" frame. But like I feel like there were times today and like a couple games I look back this afternoon just to make sure I wasn't completely crazy, and I'm like, I see Arike in Hidalgo like a lot, or I guess Hidalgo and Arike or whatever permutation it's supposed to be. But so you take that into account first and foremost. Then you look at exactly what Olivia Miles was doing on Lexi Donarski, who, as you mentioned, like former all Big 12 defensive player. Like she is not a slouch. Plus, she's longer and bigger than Miles is. Like Lexi Donarski has a WNBA frame. She might not be a WNBA level defender. She might not be fast enough at that level to do so. But that's an example of a bigger player putting a hand in your face. And there were some step backs, like dribble step backs that Olivia Miles was doing where you're like, holy shit, man. It's not just the shooting has improved. It is the fact that the ball skills and confidence leading into the range has also improved. And to me, that matters substantially. I don't think we've seen, frankly, like the only analog I could think of a 3-point shooter improving the way that she had is like Jackie Young in like year 3 in the WNBA. Dude, the numbers here are absolutely preposterous. She went from 22% last year to 46% so far this season. Like that is more than double your improvement on and shooting more threes. And so you take a bunch of those things into account. And yes, like the injury concern is still there. And I think that's the only thing that would give me pause in terms of like upside. If Olivia Miles was historically healthier than Paige, I'd say this might be a no-brainer. And I would be openly.
Hey. Let's keep going.
I knew I would unlock the but like here's the thing, like we like Dallas gets a lot of shit as an organization, sometimes rightfully so. I do think though that like this would be an interesting move about like what is the value here for Kurt Miller? You know, like what does he value? Like, does he value a player that, you know, look, Paige is phenomenal. And I don't think personally, Paige is going to come into the league and be the same person as Caitlin Clark. I think Paige is going to be really good. I think it might take Paige a while to like get going in a way that I think maybe a little longer than I think it took Cece, because I think Caitlin's just a uniquely gifted individual. And with that in mind, like I'm watching the improvement of Olivia Miles this year, and I'm like, what would stop this from continuing to improve? Yeah, you know, like what is telling me that this is the ceiling after we're seeing the improvement from last year to this year? So I think it's the 3-point shooting. It's the court vision. She's such a point guard, man. Like, and we talk about this a lot in women's basketball and basketball in general. Like true points, like they don't exist in the same way anymore. Like passing points that have that kind of vision don't exist in the same way. And there's just a piece of me that watches Olivia with Hidalgo and is like, dog, imagine Olivia doing these like no look corner dimes to Arike. Like that shit sounds super fun. It really does. And not to say that Paige is incapable of doing that herself, because she absolutely is. I just like the more I watch it, the more I'm like, why not consider it? Like the report was today, the Dream, the
Lynx,
Mystics, and the Lynx were all at the game today. And I think that's like an interesting smattering, because I do think that there's a couple players on North Carolina's end that are late first round. Like Gokden could be a late first round pick.
She was all over that game today.
Really good. I really like her game. And then you have like Sonia and a couple others. But God, man, I can't get the idea that like Hidalgo feels like a bit of an Arike dupe. And if Miles and Hidalgo works this well, why not take advantage of that Notre Dame connection? And also too, dude, Olivia Miles is a great personality. Like I can see a world personally. I was thinking about it when I think it was like her second step back three There's like, I think 3 minutes left in the first quarter, and she, you know, kind of like throws up the three and goes down.
She had the celebrations going all day. I know she had one where it was like this, like she had the whole celebration going.
And I'm thinking to myself, like, dog, why couldn't the goggles be a brand? You know,
the basketball is marketable. Like she is so fun. Like,
but this is what I mean. Like Joe makes this point here. Like, there's no downside other than marketing, which is understandable given what we know about Paige. However, who's to say that you can't market Olivia? Like Miles, like I shit you not. And maybe this is like kitschy, stupid, like TV guy that does, you know, easily packageable narratives that everybody hates and is like just fabric of American society, but like goggles, like I see goggles and I see branding and I'm like, you could do this with her, man. So I'm making the case. If I'm Kurt Miller, the more I watch Olivia Miles, the more I see her in top 25 matchups, 16, 4-3 on 67% shooting against UConn, 19, 7-5 going 5 for 8 against UNC, 18, 2-6 on 55% shooting against Texas, 16, 4-4 against TCU, although she did go 2 for 7 from 3 in that game, but 28-7 against USC, 7 for 12 from the field, 4 of 5 from 3. The only dud she's had this season was that game against Utah. Every other game, and the slight and the knock on her has been that she in the past has not been able to play her best against big opponents, right? Like in past years, she has folded against higher level competition. Dog, she's answered the bell this entire year. Against teams that are in the top, that are in the top 5. Like I don't know.
I'm sold. I'm sold.
No, but genuinely though, like to your point, Andrew, every question that was had about Olivia, really the three main were 3-point shooting. It was the big games and injuries, and then I guess you want to count how she can work with Hannah as a question. Every one of those has so far been answered. Like there was really no like rust to knock off. Really, it felt like it was pretty much from the jump. She was going. The 3-point shooting has been there. I do think, and by no means is this even a knock to Paige, but this is definitely becoming more of a. You hear if it was any other draft, she'd be number 1. You hear that. We heard that last year with Cam and Caitlin. If it was any other draft, I don't think we're there anymore. And it's because of how much Olivia has answered every single question when it comes to her game. And that's, again, not even a knock on Paige, because I don't think Paige is digressed or anything. It's literally just Olivia showing up and answering every single question. And also, like, it's so interesting because every team in the top 3 would absolutely adore having Olivia Miles play for their team for different reasons, but literally every team in the top 3, where I still think, and I thought of this when the lottery happened, that there's a very real possibility of movement within the top 4 when it comes to a team potentially trying to throw a haul, thinking that Olivia is the one for them, or even potentially a Dallas taking a haul from LA to move back, potentially even because they think Olivia is the one for them, and being able to.
Well, I mean, look, dog. If it keeps going this way, like, what's to say the Sparks wouldn't want to, pray that the Wings let her drop too? I mean, let Dallas make the decision. I mean, and that's the thing. Like, at this point, like, when the lottery happened, everyone was like, oh shit, damn LA. But it just increasingly as the way that Olivia just continues to show up. Again, I can't get over that. Like every single question, like there is no questions left with Olivia right now. Like it feels like every single part of her game is on an upward trajectory, which is. Dude, I can't lie. When I really think about it, I mean, dog, Olivia Miles throwing no looks to Rickea Jackson sounds pretty good too.
That's what I'm saying. No, I'm telling you. I got look, man. There's
no losing with her as a prospect. I think more than anything else, like I can make the number 1 case here, but I think more than anything else, this game I think was the final affirmation for me that that she's as good a prospect as we've had at the point guard position in a bit. And that to me, like that, and that's noteworthy.
Since
Man.
last year, you mean?
Yeah. Well,
yeah, I mean,
yeah, so Caitlin, and then, but no, I get you. But before that, we are having
different and it's not glazing to say like that girl's on a different plane than like what we typically assess here. Like, you know,
no,
but also it is pretty great. Like, I mean, I know
it's a
y'all
point
talked
guard
about
renaissance.
Well, y'all talked about it recently. Like the evolution of the league is going through guards, and the more great guards we have that keep doing this kind of stuff, the better it is. I think what I love about Olivia, and this is the last piece I'll have on her before we move over to Tennessee. The thing I love about her is how how the game like slows down for her when she makes those passes. It is very like. And this is like to the nth degree, but like it's very like LeBron, like on some bullshit, stuff where like he takes 2 strides and he looks like he's moving in slow motion, or like Jokic. Like there's just like this passing element to her where like she takes 2 steps and you're like, how the fuck did the ball get there? And like, and all of a sudden it's in Hannah Hidalgo's hands.
Let me tell you right now, Olivia Miles playing for a Magic Johnson owned team.
I'll tell you what, Magic better show up.
Hey, he said he's going to now, so
Magic comes to the fucking arena. So
he said he's going to now. Crypto, we'll see. Will there be a new Magic Miles in crypto? We will see. But moving on to Oklahoma, who won the game. Moving on to Tennessee. Moving on to Oklahoma. Where you can
fix it, but bring it a little bit more. Yeah, there we go. There.
Moving on to Oklahoma, who won against Tennessee today, handing them their first loss. This game was interesting, and I guess I'll lead off with this since Oklahoma. I was there at the Texas game. That was respectfully probably one of my least favorite games I had ever been to. That game took 2.5 hours. There was 55 field goals and 54 fouls in that game. There was a 15-minute review. Like, it was bad, right? And that was just, it was not good basketball. This was similar issues for OU in this game, but a lot more digestible to watch. I call it pace of mistakes, because this game is 2 teams that absolutely were running. This was my cardio workout for the day, just watching this game. And in that,
pace of mistakes is so good, dude.
Dude, look, hey, thanks, man. I appreciate that. But 31 turnovers in this game for Oklahoma, including I think Tennessee went down as much as like 19 in this game, and worked their way all the way back to only losing this game by 1 point, 87-86. And a lot of that had to do simply with just mistakes. And Tennessee is one of the best defenses at forcing you to make mistakes across the entire nation. Like, they're like top 5 in forced turnovers, I think, if not higher up in that rank. But a lot of this was just OU doing stuff a lot of times, whether it was post-entry passes to Reagan Beers that were just kind of flying overhead and whatnot. Like, those are the things that Oklahoma can just clean up. But ultimately, Reagan Beers, I feel like, was the difference between Oklahoma in this game against an Orange Big T team in the SEC and last game's Big Orange capital T SEC game. And that was the fact that Reagan Beers was in this game. And in the Texas game, she had foul trouble. She barely even got on the court, it felt like, in that game. But this is a game that OU loses without Reagan Beers, both this year against Texas and last year without her, when you put up 31 turnovers. But the fact that she was there just to anchor, and it just felt like she was always showing up at the right times. It wasn't like she put up insane stats. It was 13 and 8, 6 and 7 shooting. So I still would love her to get the ball more than that. But she was keeping up with the pace, which I know when I talked to her over the summer, that was a big thing with her, was getting up to speed, because Oregon State speed could not be on the far spot, like side of the spectrum than Oklahoma speed. And that was something that she absolutely recognized. So to see her in this game with 2 of the fastest teams in the entire nation at 4th and 5th in pace in the nation, this was a game. It was really dope to see her be able to stay in and truly kind of anchor down, especially on the defensive side for OU. But the difference really in this game and the Texas game was the fact that Reagan Beers was on the court to me. And also, I do love this comment because Sahara Williams is absolutely an SEC guard. She's on her Lou Dort arc. This is year 2. Trust in the vision if you know the Oklahoma City Thunder. But Tennessee does get their first loss. I mean, everything was looking on the up for Tennessee. And this is not a bad loss. This is not a panic loss by any means or anything like that. But I am interested on y'all's take on, now that we do see Tennessee take their first loss, kind of what this looks like for them. Greer, I'll let you start off here.
No, I mean, to me, Tennessee's ahead of schedule, way ahead of schedule.
Agreed.
They lost by 1 point and had the opportunity to win this game, right?
Yes.
Puckett is the person that took the three, right, with the top of the key through or whatever.
Yeah, it was an open shot. Let me see if I can.
Top of the 4-3. They called the timeout. OU. Okay. Also, I remember texting you a couple days ago saying, I want this game. I want them both to play in the 80s.
Oh yeah. No, we want, like, this. The only way for this game to really feel right was if both offenses were rolling.
Right. So to say that Oklahoma scored 87 points and had 31, like what?
The amount of possessions in this game is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Crazy pace. But yeah, I still remain super encouraged if I'm the Lady Vols. A couple of things here and there. Did you have to go for the three? TB, maybe not, because all you needed was a 2 to win the game, and that you didn't get it to the players who were cooking for you in that moment, right? Samara Spencer had just made a shot. Jewel Spear had just made a shot to push it to within one possession. So I think Tyler's playing the clip here right now. And yeah, like, I get it. Wide open, but that's rough. And I will say, I know Jimmy Branchick and the coaching staff absolutely know they got away with one, because she could not hit the handshake line quicker than she did. Like, she was making Knoxville with the gun. All you saw was the back of her head in the handshake line. We are
good old Rocky time.
But yeah, Tennessee, I expect them to, they obviously have a lot more top 20-ish matchups with
there'll be plenty
other
of
SEC teams, right? The Kim Caldwell era is off to a fabulous start.
Yeah.
A fabulous start. And I think they can get a couple of those games with other SEC foes.
I think their build is still like a year or two away, because I feel like they're very much built in a new era, where I think in order for it to work at a national championship level, I think you're going to need a really specific player at center. Like, you're going to need like a 6'5" big body who can run, which that's hard to find. Like, you don't get those very often. And when you do, you're fighting every other school under the sun for them. Now, granted, Tennessee's got a nice little NIL machine. So, like, I think that they could compete for them. But I think that to me was the difference, because as bad as the passing was to Reagan Beers in a lot of situations, like, Oklahoma built out that lead in the second and third quarter, especially on basically like wide open feeds to Beers inside. Yep. And you're looking at it and you're like, well, there's nobody on the roster for Tennessee that can counter Beers in that way. But you look at it and you go, okay, put somebody like Beers on that Tennessee team, they might never fucking lose. So I see what the end result of what Kim Caldwell is trying to do is. It's just, you're going to have to find that very specific generational player to make it work in the way that, it can be dominant. But like you said, Greer, I mean, Tennessee's so far ahead of schedule here. I mean, there was a big concern. I think a lot of people, like, even in reasonable basketball circles, shared this. Like, can this work at that level? Like, can the way that Kim Caldwell coaches Marshall work at a place like Tennessee? And in a lot of ways, it can, because it's like, it's a sound scheme. It just is with better players now. Sure, the competition is better, but the talent you have is also better. In a lot of ways, like, to take it back way, 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 way back, it reminds me of like Joan Bonvicini's like old Long Beach State teams that had LaTanya Pollard and Penny Toller and like all of these, this team that made the 86-87 Final Four. And oddly enough, like, they run up against Pat Summitt's first NCAA championship Tennessee squad. But the way that Joan built that team, it was in the vein of the Paul Westhead Loyola Marymount squads. Like that was where she pulled inspiration from there, and she pulled inspiration from the Showtime Lakers in the 80s. And I think Tennessee, the way Caldwell runs that team kind of feels similar. Like it has kind of D'Antoni 7 seconds or less vibe to him, where it's like early in the shot clock, get one pass, get up and shoot and go. And I do think that like when that works and when the shots go, I mean, we saw it like second quarter, none of the shots are falling and you fall into a hole. But in the same way that you fall into a hole, you can make it back the minute the shots start going in.
Shoot your way out of it. Yeah.
Well, when Jules Spear locked in like that second half, really, like that's when the league came back. It was truly as simple as just having one player turn on the offensive end.
And it is a very live by the three, die by the three. Can it work in college is, I think, a better and more interesting question, because we have seen multiple high-powered offensive teams get all the way to the dance and get to the final two and then lose to the team that fucks you up defensively, right? Like whether those are the Iowa teams from Caitlin Clark's era, whether that's when Oregon with Sabrina Ionescu went to the Final Four in 2019 and they run up on Baylor with Kalani Brown and Lauren Cox, Kelsey Plum's Washington team that goes to the Final Four in 2016. Like we have a lot of examples of pace offenses that are able to get all the way to the end until they run up on an elite defense. I think that's the thing that I'm curious about in SEC play, of like, how does Kim adjust to that? And what I think is cool, and you know, this is the kind of the coda on this, the Sarah Puckett shot, that to me feels like a totally fine teachable moment for Kim Caldwell, because I'm sure Kim looks at that and is like, 3-ball, open shot, take it.
Bad shot.
Right? No, but it's also not a good shot. You're down 1. You need the 2. Go for the higher percentage look. Kim's under the age of 35. Like that is, you know, she has not been in the game for, 45 plus years like a Gino has. I mean, shit, dude, Gino's been in it for 50 at this point. Like,
stick the long ball, man.
Yeah.
That's what the players want to do. That's what And I don't know. Again, I don't know that that's what was like drawn up either necessarily.
Yeah. There's a lot of time left.
Can we really say shit when this is the same team that Kelly Harper lost her job because Camila Cardoso?
Bro, the same shot. The same shot.
Sometimes the shit goes in and sometimes it doesn't, you know? Yeah. But I do think they're ahead of schedule. I love their ceiling. Like, I think their ceiling is really high. I also think their floor is kind of low, right? Like a bad shooting day, you could be somebody's second round upset. However, I don't really see a lot of upset worthy teams, and maybe that's something like we'll reevaluate when we get to February, but I have a feeling this tournament's going to be really chalky this year. I don't see a lot of under the radar teams where I'm like, oh, you're scary as shit. It feels like the players are here to play in terms of like the teams that we're accustomed to being really good. Tennessee, I'm curious to see who they beat. I think that's my big thing. It's like, you've shown that you have an established floor of like the teams that you can beat. You can beat a team like Iowa, right? Or a team like a Florida State. I think that Oklahoma is in a semi-different tier this season with Reagan Beers. I don't think they're like a contender, like a Final Four contender, but I think they're a second weekend Sweet 16, maybe Elite 8 type squad with Beers there. That's what I want to see out of Tennessee. Can you show me that you can beat teams that are in that caliber? And if you can, I mean, we're in business.
Yeah, no, I agree across the board with y'all. Can I just say it almost brought a tear to my eye to hear someone say that they could put Oklahoma's big on the other team. Man. Damn, means something to me, man.
Not since Courtney Paris?
Courtney Paris, you already know. We can throw her name in there. Not since CP3.
No, Chicago Sky assistant.
Hello. But no, like and even to your point with the bigs with Tennessee when it comes to guarding them, I think this is the first time that OU has had any size depth. Because Oklahoma is also a team, like, they don't do the hockey changes the way Tennessee does, but they're probably closer to that than farther from that. So like they were willing to go deep into their bench as well. And Liz Scott and Beatrice Colton off the bench also provided, like, as size for Oklahoma, provided some struggles for Tennessee. Both of them went 4 for 4. And so I'm also interested in seeing like Raina Scott for Oklahoma had a good game off the bench, and she normally to me plays at the speed that Tennessee plays at, but like is going too fast for the game a lot of times. And in this game, it's like she like kind of just like got into the speed with everyone else, and it finally worked out for her. So I'm interested, even if there's other guards where we might see that with across the rest of the season, like when they're put into this element of playing Tennessee style. Because I think most teams will slow it down, but obviously Oklahoma isn't afraid to go fast in their own right. So I'll be kind of interested in seeing the mix and match of teams slowing it down versus trying to match Tennessee's speed with some of their own personnel that maybe aren't normally the personnel that you would expect to see from these teams in that way. So something interesting to monitor, but Oklahoma picks up their first SEC win in program history. Yay, conference realignment. Yay, Oklahoma. Boomer Sooner. Get the horsies, put the ponies in the barn. Okay, next. I'm ready for this one. Let's talk about Kiyomi McMiller. The Rutgers freshman put out a statement today. Because the matchup, honestly, to be transparent with y'all, we were like, all right, we're going to go live after USC Rutgers. Like, this is going to be fun. We get Juju versus Kiyomi. Like, we are excited for this. And then earlier today, we saw this go up on social media. Like, this is Kiyomi's Instagram. To my fans, I would like to apologize to my fans. I will not be playing in today's game versus USC, which is number 4 in the country. This decision was made by my head coach, Coach Washington. Thank you for your continued support. God bless you, Kiyomi, the product, McMiller. Let's break this down one by one, y'all.
To my fans, first of all.
Let's just go line by line. Not the
right,
team,
not Scarlet, Red,
faithful.
Right.
Not to my fans.
Right.
To my fans.
No, I will give her a little bit of a break because right before we hopped on, they were doing like crowd shots of who was in the crowd today, and it's in Piscataway or New Brunswick. Where is it, Andrew? Where's Piscataway. So Fabulous was in the building. There's some people in the building. Now, a lot of them are there to see number 12 in Old Gold and Cardinal, but all right, fine. To her fans. Let's keep going.
I will not be playing in today's game versus USC, which they got cooked, by the way. I will not be playing in today's game versus USC, which is number 4 in the country. I love the underline under the number 4. I don't know if that was on purpose or not, or if that was the Notes app that did that, but I love the underline under number 4. I want them to know that this is one of the best teams in the nation and that I will not be playing against them tonight. This is who you are.
When you see that box score, when you see that, I wasn't a part of that.
That was not me. And that was against the number 4 team in the nation. And I want y'all to know who y'all didn't let me try and go up against. Let's continue. This decision was made by my head coach, Coach Washington. If I'm Coach Washington, I'm reading this like, what the fuck?
Bro.
Like, you're not wrong. I mean, like, that's probably
of
the
course
truth.
it's the coach's decision.
Why are you putting that in the statement? Like, everything about this is gold to me. This is hilarious. Thank you for your continued support. God bless all of you, Kiyomi. My favorite part about all of this, the product, McMiller. She puts her own nickname in the statement. I love it. This is NIL season. You're going to know my name. You're going to know my nickname. And you're going to know whose fault it is that you're not seeing me on the court tonight. This is hilarious to me.
Okay. I'm going to give her some grace because, like, this is still a kid.
This is a freshman.
However,
this is absolutely.
However, I said this on Blue Sky. Like, the white smoke from the Vatican has gone up. We have found our new Kennedy Carter. But Greer mentioned in our pre-show meeting that even Kennedy Carter was not doing this shit in college. And that means that we have officially made it. As a league, as a sport, as women's basketball, we have officially gotten like the cryptic wide receiver, like the enemy.
This is player empowerment.
No, dog. This is like the NFL wide receivers tweet, like the enemy speaks softly and carries a knife.
Yes,
like that is exactly what this is. I fucking love this so much, and the bummer is that, like, I hope someone is able to get through to her because I don't want this to be the thing that derails her career. Because if you've watched her, God damn, is she fun.
Yeah.
Like, she is so
Incredibly.
friggin' good in so many ways. Like, it really would have been great to watch her versus Juju. And honestly, I can't imagine a coach sitting her unless like there's some, grades or something. Like, there's like, that's speculative on my part, obviously, but like I have to imagine there is something else at play than like my coach is being like a hating ass right now and not letting me play against Juju Watkins. But goddamn, dude, like, have we ever, like, Alexis Morris, like as mentioned, like, Alexis Morris didn't even do this shit in college, bro. Like, Alexis Morris did this on the other side of things. Like, I don't know. I don't know who's the last person we've ever had among college players that has like stunted like this.
I've never seen anything like this.
I've never seen
not
and like you and Greer, like you said, like, girl, you've been playing college basketball for like 2 months. Like, this isn't even like a senior. This is you know what this is, man? This is freshman quarterback shit. Like, this is so awesome,
dude.
I'm of the mindset like this is a very Rovellian take of me. Like, this is terrible for the sport, but this is tremendous content. And like this, like, bro, this is terrible for Rutgers, but this is tremendous content.
Yeah. Is it Ashley Owusu? Is it the group chat? Is that as close as like during the game? Like, maybe like that is as close as we have. But it's still different though. That was
before we were in this time period.
Yeah, it's still different. That's a good shout though.
I'm a Jordan Brand athlete. Juju Watkins is coming to my town to play me and my team, and my
we ain't here to play school. What's
you know what I'm saying? Like, this is absolutely insane. And yeah, to Andrew's point, I do hope that
it's crazy.
Like her circle and her foundation is strong enough to like, hey, this ain't it. Like, there's no accountability from her in this statement for what may or may not have transpired to result in Coach Washington making this decision. So it just all around just bad. Just bad. Like, but yeah, I definitely don't want to dogpile on an 18, 19-year-old. But again, right, this is a player who, if we're just zooming out and telling the whole picture, right, this is a player who said, like, I don't want to go to some of these more well-established programs because they already have players. They already got, and I'm different, and I'm this, and I'm that. And okay, well, then your responsibility is to be on the floor, baby. That's your responsibility, is to be on the floor and do what you got to do so that you can be on the floor. Yeah. So
it's also important to note as well that she only played 5 minutes in the second half against Maryland, and that was also a coach's decision. So like, obviously something is happening here. And I went and looked. I want to look on Twitter. So if anyone in the chat has seen anything, please let us know. But I haven't seen any post-game quotes or anything from Coach Washington or anything like that to like try and get any answer behind it. Again, it was called a coach's decision like after the last game. So I don't know if we will get any from that. Maybe it'll be from Kiyomi's Instagram that we find out why. But this is us just entering into a very, very unique time. This is the extension that now comes with the transfer portal being the way it is with NIL. Like, I feel like these are the type of things that are just going to be more frequent as it happens with more power to the players. It's not, you can decide on your own if it's inherently good or bad, but this is, I think, just the reality.
Look, there's a devil's advocate component here. And like, we've talked about this in our group chat before, like, there's a difference between player empowerment and player entitlement.
Yeah. And
I do think that, like there is with everything, like there's limits and rationality to some of these things. And while I think it is funny, like I think that blanketing saying, power to the players does set a bad precedent, because at the end of the day, man, like these kids are teenagers. Like I certainly would not, if I'm 30. I would, if I look back at what I did at 18 and 19 years old, I'm like, I would not give myself the degree of power like over anything, And so I do think like there is an aspect where we want to see recompense for all of the exploitation of labor that has occurred, for decades within college sports. But in that same respect, I do fear like we're pushing the other way too much, where it's like, well, now let the kids do the exploitation. And it's like, well, no. Like the exploitation is the problem. It's not who's doing the exploitation. It's the exploitation. And at some point, that's something that's going to have to be reckoned with by reasonable people, if there are any left in this world. But like, I think the back end of this is like, yeah, you hope someone in her circle is like, I get being upset about it, but you can't do that shit. If you want to have the aspirations that you have, you cannot do this stuff. Also, I just, notice like a lot of South Carolina, Malaysia comps here. I'm writing about that particular thing tomorrow. So,
a little stay tuned tease on NoCastBaseWBB.com where you can see 5 out tomorrow. That's in the description below, by the way. Okay, we're approaching an hour here, so I do want to keep it pushing. One thing that I think is very interesting is the hierarchy of the Power Four is intriguing right now, because I think the SEC and the Big Ten are like just the obvious 1A, 1B, 1 and 2, whatever order you want to put that in. I don't think that is any argument. And then it's the ACC, and then it's the Big 12. The Big 12 is in a really weird year this year with not having OU and Texas, obviously. Iowa State was kind of supposed to be the team a little bit, and, at least, them and Kansas State for this conference this year. And that didn't happen with Iowa State. They are nowhere near the level that we had anticipated them to be, coming off and building off of the way that they had their March Madness run last year. This is an interesting time for the Big 12 conference. And obviously they're adding teams in as well from the Pac-12, rest in peace. So I'm interested for y'all, who is your favorite right now in the Big 12? Kansas State is at 12, TCU at 11. Utah just beat Iowa State, and we are very familiar with Utah's game over here. So like they will likely, I assume that they'll be ranked going into this next rankings, or I feel like they should be, at least if they're not already. West Virginia as well is another team in there. Oklahoma State has looked way better than anticipated. Just for y'all, is there a team that is there a favorite right now for you guys? Let us know in the chat as well who you're feeling. And if there's not a favorite, then tell me why.
I like Utah long term. I think TCU, I think that's the big pick for a lot of people. Kansas State, I mean, initially I had West Virginia written in, but Kansas State has everything. As far as a couple of guards, Gabby Gregory, Jalen Glenn, Serena Sundell, and then, all of it rests on Ayoka Lee, obviously. But TCU, I think, can run with, or Kansas State, I think, can run with TCU. I think the guards are good enough defensively that they can slow down TCU. I think, as we've seen with Sedona Prince, in that South Carolina game, not to be a hater, but Sedona's kind of a matchup merchant. When you put her against talent, you see what it really looks like. And she feasts on lower end competition, and there's been a lot of it for them this year. Obviously, the offense that Mark Campbell runs is a lot more conducive to her as a scorer, but she handles people that don't have the athleticism or the size to bang with her, and she, and that's where she gets the majority of her points. Ayoka Lee is 6'7" and can drop 50 on your head. So
ask me how I know.
Don't remind him.
Ask me how I know. Please, it means more now, okay?
Well, that Oklahoma hat up there.
It means more now, okay?
K-State's a team for me. I think K-State is the team that I think has it on both ends of the floor. Utah is my next one, though. I think it was a big win for Utah tonight against Iowa State to kind of prove that Mai Torre is a solution in the front court against elite players. Iowa State's completely falling apart.
That is crazy.
It's crazy, but it's not surprising. The guards The guards just aren't as good as we think they are.
Yeah.
And frankly, like, Ani Crooks has got to develop a little bit. She hasn't improved from her freshman to sophomore year, and I think that's important to note because there hasn't been a lot that's changed in her game, I think, than the last time we saw her in the tournament last year against Stanford to now. And I think a lot of programs have scouted it appropriately, and you need to be ahead of the curve, and I don't think Iowa State has been this year. So my two are Utah and K-State. I think that there's some elements at TCU that are still missing. I think they still don't have and I use the Oregon comparison because like that, like there are hallmarks of like Mark's style of coaching in those Oregon teams, and where they were their most successful was Ruthie Hebard, in that center spot, running pick and roll in a high level point guard that could pass and run PNR consistently, shooters on the perimeter, but also the Satu Sabali figure. Mm-hmm. And people, I think, really forget how vital she was as that secondary option if PNR doesn't work. And they don't have that at TCU yet. And I think a team like Utah has at least experience, if not talent there to deal with that. K-State absolutely has that because Sundell can be that player on the wing. And that's why I like K-State.
Yeah, I can get with that. Greer, who is...
I'm going to go K-State also. I'm going to go K-State. Yeah. 6'7". Like,
yeah, I mean, that's fair.
Elkin Lee went healthy. Right. I think we had her slated as an All-American, like a preseason All-American. So
it's really just a matter of health.
Yeah. And then Serena, like that is not as good, but it's up there in terms of 1-2 punches in the country.
Yeah. No, it's like a second or third tier. I'd say when they're like on their on nights, like
certainly good enough to win the Big 12.
Yeah. That's also the thing is it's not like I mean, the highest ranked team right now, they don't have a top 10 team in the Big 12 right now. Yeah. And obviously, again, like OU and for regular season titles, the past couple of years, it's been OU and Texas. So
UConn's on the way. You ready? Coming to save the conference.
Hey, please do. Please. I'll be here. I'll be around. But no, I think for me, the very interested just to kind of to throw another team in there. West Virginia is a team that just intrigues me because they were able to bring in a little bit of size. Not like any dominant big or anything like that, but just they didn't have any size, frankly. And we know what a West Virginia press can do to a team. Now, I think obviously they have a Big 12 loss already. So, it's not a given that ball pressure can just equal wins by any means in the Big 12. So I think that is part of what's interesting to me is that I think that they will certainly be one of the top teams in the Big 12. But when it comes to beating the TCUs, when it comes to beating the Kansas States, the teams that have a little bit more just talent, just frankly, like, and especially when it comes to being able to handle the ball, will they be able to beat those teams is what I'm interested in. And obviously Utah, again, has just been showing out. Oklahoma State has been shooting lights out. It's been crazy. Staley Hurd has been fantastic in her sophomore season. Baylor is a team that just, man, we're about getting close to having to have some Baylor conversations, I think. And
too much talent to be doing what they're doing.
Yeah, they get Vonleh in, who can kind of sort of be your answer to an Ayoka Lee, like in that sense of just pure size, but not even height, but just kind of being able to bang with Ayoka Lee a little bit. But even then, like we're 12-3. It's not working the way since really Nikki Collins hasn't been moved really since Nalissa Smith left? ?
Yeah.
Like
roughly.
I think like because Nalissa had 1 year there with Nikki after
never been the same since Caitlin Bickle graduated.
Hey man, Shawnee's favorite player.
I don't think I had it though. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
I love West Virginia. My only thing with West Virginia is I don't know how much they have around JJ Quinterly that can like get you up against the elites.
Yeah, agreed.
I love JJ, man. Friend of the pod.
Oh, she's fantastic.
I got a story coming out next month about West Virginia and Mark Kellogg, who I'm a huge believer in after talking with him. I think he's awesome. And I've heard so much good stuff from people inside the West Virginia program about him and who he is. But you need a second or third person. I just don't know who that is.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that. As we start to wrap this up a little bit, some quick hits for the weekend wrap. I'm just interested for y'all. We'll start off with teams. Was there a team that stood out to you that just had a great performance this weekend that you want to highlight? Andrew, I'll start with you.
Clemson Tigers, baby.
Okay.
Sean Poppy's crew. And I was really, really high on Sean leaving UTC, Tennessee Chattanooga. He was one of the chief lieutenants on Kenny Brooks's Virginia Tech teams. And I really loved everything he did in the portal this year. I mean, basically turned over the entirety of that Clemson squad. And honestly, dude, Loyal McQueen has been fantastic for them this year. I love the fact that they honestly, like, it could have fallen apart, you know, like they got absolutely run off the floor by South Carolina. They had a couple of losses that probably should have been wins with the talent that they've had. And yet they welcome in Stanford and they welcome in Cal's going to stay in the top 25, even doing a 1-1 split this week. And they beat them both. I mean, and with the Cal game, it wasn't necessarily close either toward the end. So I'm a huge believer in like the long-term viability of Sean at Clemson. And it's been a long time since Clemson has been good, but you know, we'll pull up some legendarium history for everybody. Ooh. Annie Tribble at Clemson, like that used to be a really consistent, like second round plus team in the 80s and 90s. They were never a team that was running to the Final Four, but they were the type of team that you would reliably see in the tournament every year. And every couple of years, they would make a second round push, or not a second round push, a second weekend push. And Annie Tribble, Pearl Moore's coach for all of 11 games in Anderson Junior College back in the day. Loyal McQueen, Pearl Moore's mentee, went to Wilson High School from Florence, South Carolina. So an interesting tie to history there as well. But very, very big on Clemson, very big on their long-term, really like Sean as a coach. I think he does a great job down there in year 1 or year 0, I guess you could call it, with all the transfers he had. Right. But that's such a huge proof of concept, man. Stanford's not the same team that they were, but it's still the Stanford brand. Cal is not the same team that they were last year in a different way. They are a top 25 unit this year with a couple of really good wins under their belt. And here is Clemson beating them both. Yep. Clemson's team of the week for me.
I'm with you. Greer.
I mean, not really like a team of the week, but like, I gotta say, A&M's win over Ole Miss today.
Absolutely. That could be
like shit was looking shaky as hell in College Station. Okay. Mm-hmm. Shit was looking shaky as hell. So to get a top 25 win this weekend is, you know, it brings the pressure down just a little bit. Just a little bit. Yeah, shout out to Donnie and them, but that's a good dub. And they had one I'm blanking on her name right now, but came off the bench and shot 100% from the field, 7 for 7 from. So I mean,
we'd love that.
Yeah, shout out to the Aggies because they lost some shit in the portal too, obviously. And this season it wasn't looking good.
No,
it wasn't looking good.
That's a fantastic way for them to start off SEC play and kind of get that rolling. I'm going to stay in the SEC though, and kind of do it in a little bit of an opposite way. My pick is Kentucky, and I'm not going to lie, it's just because I've been hating on Kentucky, but I wore my Kentucky blue tonight. And the thing is, really, not even as much as I've been hating on Kentucky, I've just been really high on Vanderbilt, and this was the game for me where I was like, Vanderbilt is going to prove to everyone why they should be ranked, and Kentucky smoked them, 96-78. No starter had less than 14. You have 20, 14, 17, 24, and 17 from the starting lineup. Like, that is incredible production across the board. Made Camille Pierre struggle. Michaela Blakes as well, both 8-22 and 9-22 respectively. They still put the points on the board, but like it was a bit of a struggle to get there just from a volume perspective. So I'm just giving Kentucky the respect in that manner because, again, I have not been super incredibly high on Kentucky. But more so, I've just been very high on Vanderbilt, and I was like, okay, this is the game that Vanderbilt proves it, and the opposite happened. So in that sense, this is me saying that I was wrong for now, specifically for now. I might just be early, but I did want to give that. I did want to give that.
Always early. What do you mean?
Come on now. I did want to switch now to players. We'll just go in the same order. Andrew, your player of the weekend.
I mean, honestly, dude, we don't talk enough about Lauren Betts. And I think that's such like a stupid, like, we've been in the women's basketball media ecosystem for a long time. And I feel like everybody's favorite catchphrase is like, we don't talk enough about her.
Yeah.
I feel like in this respect, dude, I really don't know if we talk enough about her. She is a 6'7" big on the number one team in the country that's built the same way a 38-0 South Carolina team was built last year. Granted, Corey Close is not Dawn Staley. I'm not saying that. But in terms of roster construction, it's the same goddamn team. And Lauren Betts looks as good, if not better, than Camila Cardoso did. 25 points, 12 boards. Granted, it's not necessarily the same caliber of opponent, but it's still Indiana, and Indiana's still good this year. I don't understand how we're not talking more about her. And if I'm not mistaken, hold on, let me Google this real quick. Because it's not a year requirement, it's an age requirement for the WNBA draft. You have to be 21 or older.
22, I think, right? Where like the year of the draft. The year of the draft.
She's absolutely eligible.
She is eligible. Her and Flau'jae Johnson are both eligible for the WNBA draft.
If Betts declared this year, she'd go first. Full stop. I don't give a shit who you have in Dallas. But no, seriously, like the improvement that she has made year over year is crazy. Like the amount, like the pace with which she runs now, her offense, her ability to get buckets, her ability to influence the floor on the defensive end, the amount of energy and effort that she just sucks in and then opens up the game for everybody else. Like, dog, I wrote this in 5 Out, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, that we're treating UCLA like South Carolina last year. And the way we treated South Carolina last year was a mistake. And I'll cop to that too, because I feel like in part created the boring narrative, at least on Twitter, in some way of like, it's not fun to watch when the games are predetermined like this. And I wrote a few weeks after I had done that, like, that was a mistake because this team is worth watching. UCLA kind of feels the same. And maybe it's a broader media discussion that we have to have about, like, why is it that we seemingly ignore number one teams doing this when they're not named UConn? But I mean, dog, UCLA, they're doing everything South Carolina did last year. And to this point, yes, higher than Dominique Malonga, because I think Lauren Betts is more polished at this age, older, bigger, more on the frame. Dominique, like I said, it's the Mahomes comparison. I think she needs 1 year to get her feet under her at the pro level, and then she's going to be Wemby. But dog, Lauren Betts, I mean, she's showing us everything Camila Cardoso did last year. And at some point we gotta call it what it is and talk about it the way we talk about it.
Yeah. Look, I'm with you. Greer.
Lauren Betts is that player
cool.
for me. Well, I don't want to go. Yeah, I don't have much else to add other than what Andrew said. I mean, but I do want to say, like, again, just a matter of time, right? This was a player who was the number one player coming out of high school in her class. So the stability surrounded by the talent that UCLA has, comfortability, they're really going to her, really, taking advantage of all of the threats that she possesses. And it's nice to see, like, Corey, like, really coaching her ass off right now.
Yeah. I'm with you. I mean, look, you can't go wrong with Lauren Betts. I will shout out one player that I've been beating the drum for since last season, and that's Kansas's Samaya Nichols, who just consistently just drops like 25. Like, it's actually kind of insane how good she's been, especially in Big 12 play. It hasn't resulted in all wins for Kansas by any means, but like the individual performance from her, and I think we saw Kansas has a really solid recruiting class coming in. They got like 2 or 3 5-stars. I was like, oh, okay, Kansas was okay.
Something's going on in Lawrence.
Something's shaking. But I did want to shout out because Oklahoma State had been a team that has been just surging this year, and especially non-conference play. Not the best opponents, but it was like, okay, let's let Oklahoma State get to West Virginia and then we'll find out. But before they got to West Virginia, they ran into Kansas and Samaya Nichols, who had 27 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists, 4 steals, 8 of 15, like, just dominant. She is an incredible two-way player, one of the most underrated players in the entire nation. And I just wanted to give her a little shout out because the last couple of games it's been 27, 22, 25, 26. There was a 28-point game against Auburn. Like, there's just, if you look down her game log, it's nasty. Like, it really is. And if she gets some help around her in Lawrence, and like, obviously she's just a sophomore, so like there's time for the freshmen to come in next year and to kind of take that time a little bit, get ready. I'm intrigued. But yeah, I do have one last thing to show before we leave here. Oh, we will put this up here as well. Dana, we love Dana. Put in the chat saying that we do have our Cookies Washington quote saying, I'm not going into the specifics of it. You know, things happen in programs. You have to make decisions and have to, as a team and program, live with the consequences of things that happened. So we still don't know the why. But
sounds like how Don Staley talked about Sonya Ja.
Okay. I mean,
I'm not like I'm just
yeah,
like
it's very coach speak, to be honest. Like it is like,
yeah, like look, man. I mean, like if you know on Sonya Ja, but like that sounds like how Don talked about her, which is not great.
Yeah,
what I'm trying to say is,
bigger than the program. That's
Kiyomi McMiller. You are an Arizona Wildcat.
Oh
yeah,
no!
Hey,
Jada Williams, you're like Vincent fucking Franklin.
Yeah, nobody's bigger than the program. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah. Viv would not have put up with that shit.
No, absolutely not. I saw some Rutgers alumni tweeting too, like women's basketball. Really? So yeah, I mean, it's all hands on deck. But again, an opportunity to take your arms around her instead of pushing her out, and because she is a supremely talented player. But what she did today, pregame, is that's not the way.
Yeah. If I will say one thing, if Rutgers was smart, the person they would call to put their arm around this kid is Kalia Copper.
I was just about to say the same thing. Mm-hmm.
That is because I think Kaz also like that type of very fiery, intense, passionate, really great at the game. Also prone to like moments, right? And I think this is one of those things where you lean on the fact that you have a lot of pros that have come out of your program and a lot of pros that have also really made the effort to get back. And you say, hey, let's talk. Let me help get you to where you need to be. And if I can't get through to you as multi-time WNBA All-Star, ring on my finger, Kalia Copper, then maybe you might not be reachable. But I think this is where if you are the Rutgers program, you don't go 40 or 50 years back and find the coaches that are like, the ex-players that are going to beat you over the head. You go find the Benai Jelanis, the Kalia Coppers, the people that have been in this program that are in the league now. Shit, even in a like Aurelia Garantis, right? Like to say like, hey, come on. Like we got you. Like you're a part of the program. You're a part of the family. Let's bring you in.
Yeah. All right. I'm with you.
Hell yeah.
Bro, could you imagine?
No. Low key.
It might work.
It would work.
Like the gears started going a little bit.
Like it would work.
It's so funny that you mentioned Kim Mulkey because we have not talked about the best matchup of the day, and that is the Kim Mulkey halftime lookalike contest at LSU. First off,
today this is dressed like Kim Mulkey Day in full effect at halftime.
The splits is kind of crazy.
Was crowned. We had
winner.
Now
hold on, wait for this one. This is my winner. She got into it. She got into character. She's talking to the ref
in the ball cap.
I think they gave it to the kid, and that I don't like. Don't be handing out these W's like that.
She got the autographed jacket.
I think the coach
today.
I think the coach one was the winner.
Full effect at halftime.
I really do.
The winner was
like the splits was cool.
Bro,
we had some shenanigans.
The splits is cool, but this right here, that's my winner. That is my.
I mean,
that is my winner.
You got it down.
And I love that, but I did also want to point out Kim Mulkey's fit today.
The little kids like
drip. All first team league fits.
Bro, look at Kim Mulkey's fit.
Get the fuck out of here.
Can't make the resolutions for the sole fact.
Ball is life.
Bro, it looks like a hamper I had when I was like 5.
Men's game between LSU and Vanderbilt. I can't make the resolutions for the
You know what's amazing about
this? I can't keep the resolution. After I break it the first time, I won't go back to it.
Or somebody with the program said there's going to be a Kim Mulkey lookalike contest.
And she said, ain't nobody pulling up in this.
Kim Mulkey's overly competitive ass said, show up in this, bitch. Nobody can look like me.
Say less. Say less.
All right. Oh, y'all thought y'all had me with the sequence?
Say less. I'm pulling up with the net. Oh
this
my
is
God.
Insane.
That is it is incredible.
Okay. All right. So I know like a big New Year's resolution for us at No Cap Space is to like really dig and find the stories that like are just total out of the woodwork shit, right? And we have a couple in development right now, folks, that I really think you're gonna like because they're really just the way we approach them is very different. I think my next thing, I'm finding out who designed that shirt. I want to know everything. Whoever it is that made that thing, I want to know the process. I want to know who reached out to them. I want to know what Kim Mulkey's face was when she got that shit. Because Kim Mulkey can't love all of these. Like
she did a closet.
There was a closet tour that was crazy.
Yeah, she did a closet last year, so you should pull that up. I'm sure you can find some names in there.
Man, dude, could you imagine this has just been like sitting in there for like 15 years?
Bro, just been waiting. And she waited till the competition day. Apparently the winner of the competition got a signed Kim Mulkey jacket. I don't know which jacket it was, but like one of her jackets, which is incredible. But I think that's a perfect place to end this weekend.
Damn, dude, why does she have to be so funny though?
Dude, I know.
Yeah, that's what pisses me off.
That is an incredible bit.
For all of like the moral like things that like we hold on Kim Mulkey, like I hate the fact that like she's just so goddamn good for the sport. And it's just like if you're gonna be unlikable in like the views you hold in life, like be boring at least, but like god damn it, now I gotta watch you and laugh and be like shit, I'm right back into this with Kim Mulkey.
Apparently she did not like this one, so Andrew, you got some research to do.
Wait. No. This worst person you know is also hilarious.
Yeah, that is an incredible.
That's a good place to end it.
That is an incredible place to end it. I did want to pull this up from earlier. Maryland versus USC predictions. Tune in to Ball Up Top this week here that you can find. We'll drop that podcast on Tuesday, and you'll get it dropped throughout the week here on YouTube for the video segments. But you can find the entire podcast dropping on NoCatSpaceWBB.com on Tuesday, where we will preview the week ahead and give our thoughts on some of the matchups that are upcoming, because there's a couple good ones this week that we will have. I think ending with South Carolina, Texas on Tuesday, which we will certainly be live after.
Tony boots on the ground.
We'll have boots on the ground there, so your press conferences are covered. Your post game is covered. We'll be live here, covered. Literally anything you could possibly need from South Carolina, Texas. No Cat Space has you covered, including some of the other games in the week as well.
Get used to this. If you haven't subscribe to the channel.
Yes.
We're tinkering, making these Sunday night shows a regular thing, like a regular weekend wrap for everyone. So if you like it, let us know, and we'll keep being here for you.
Yeah, put it in the comments, put it in the chat now. We're reading. We're always looking at feedback. We're always looking at everything and trying to. We're a couple people with some internet, and so we're making it as we go and learning as we go and making the best product that we possibly can to give you all the best coverage that we possibly can from No Cat Space, covering the game that we love. Unrivaled's on deck, so we're about to add a little bit of that into the loop as well. There's a lot of stuff to come here for No Cat Space, so make sure you subscribe here on the YouTube. Make sure you subscribe on the website. It's all completely free to get all No Cat Space content, and we will see y'all next time.